So, welcome everyone. I think we should start. Before we take up the prayers, maybe just taking a moment of silence to ingather ourselves on the Mother. So, just there are my prayers. Just a second. I lost the. I'm just pulling it up. So, today we have to take up May 3. Maybe I can just go like this, go faster. Yeah. So this, I thought we can take up maybe two prayers today. The first one is a shorter one. So May 3, 1914. Anyone who would like to read it out aloud for all of us would be nice.
I'll read. May 3, 1914. O divine love, supreme knowledge, perfect oneness, at every moment of the day I call to thee so as to be nothing but thou alone. May this instrument serve thee, conscious of being an instrument, and may all my consciousness, merged in thine, contemplate all things with thy divine vision. O Lord, Lord, grant that thy sovereign power may manifest, grant that thy work may be accomplished, and thy servitor be consecrated solely to thy service. May the I disappear for evermore, may only the instrument remain. So beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. So any thoughts, any reflections? Okay, so I'll just take it bit by bit, and then if there are reflections, please share. The first three lines: O divine love, supreme knowledge, perfect oneness, at every moment of the day I call to thee so as to be nothing but thou alone. So the question is that since we are consciously choosing to read the prayers and to take all the takeaways that can be taken for our path, I think the question here in the first three lines is that what my life is? Mother is sharing here that at every moment of the day I call to thee so as to be nothing but thou alone. And thou, anything we can say, maybe we just want to follow the truth. Maybe we just want to follow the oneness. Maybe, rest, everything is secondary, but what is most important is following the truth, the absolute truth. And for that, I am happy to keep my desires on the side, demands on the side, my thirsts and wants on the side. They don't matter. They may be still there. But what matters is it following the divine will? So my question to myself is that when Shweta was reading, the question is that are we there? Where in the second line, Mother is sharing that at every moment of the day. So this is a perfection even in sincerity. That now from my life there are no hidden agendas, and all that I am aspiring from for each moment of my day is whatever I may do, speak, may not be aligned with the ego consciousness, but be in that towards that truth, that perfect oneness which I want to manifest. So I think before we embark upon rest of the prayer, the first question that I have to ask myself is this. And if that is not the case, then I can ask myself that would I want, am I convinced that that should be the case? That in every moment I should not forget that all that I want to do is follow the divine will and not my own hidden agendas and manipulations and thirsts and wants, which are always endless. We all know that. They may go in the background, but they're always there. But they may be there, but now to me, they don't matter. So I can keep them aside. They are right there, like a spider in the corner of my room. It doesn't matter. They are there, hanging around. But I don't give them importance. What I sincerely aspire for is that, may the divine will work out through whatever action or word is spoken out. And may I not follow anything which is not following that perfect oneness, supreme knowledge, and divine love. Yeah, so maybe we can first, before we move ahead, take reflections here. I think one thing also I remind myself again and again. One disciple asked the mother that, Mother, I want to remember you all the time. And how to do that? Because at times when I'm playing, for example, lawn tennis, I forget to remember you because it requires, concentration and one can maybe. So mother said that, of course, you in the beginning we do it only when there are pockets of time where we have empty time. We are not focusing on anything else. Because in the beginning we can't expect that every moment of the day I just suddenly begin to remember the mother. It's not possible. So we have to take it bit by bit. Just like if I want to play effortlessly any instrument, I have to spend those little tiny bits of pockets of practice. Only then when I once go on stage or want to perform even at home, then it's effortless. But that requires that tiny little efforts and bit of practices. So when mother is sharing at every moment of the day, I call to thee. So we have to see that so much of preparation has gone in. It just this day did not just suddenly, come up like that. That every moment one is just calling and aspiring to be in oneness with the divine. And that's where we start from. That we start from bits and pieces, then we keep forgetting on the way. not to beat ourselves up. At times we are conscious, at times we forget, at times our ego consciousness is in front, and we want to make ourselves heard. I am the right one, I am the one who has to be given attention to. All that comes to front, and then we again, kind of recollect that, oh, I didn't want to be here where I am. So slowly, the path is formed. Yes, Nandini.
I really like the word perfect oneness here. It kind of really touched my heart because yesterday actually I was watching a documentary on Netflix called Our Universe, and I was so astounded to see that how intricately the universe has been planned. It was a beautiful documentary explaining about science and energy, and and how even our biological clock is attuned with the universe's clock. How hormones starts to, the sleep hormones will be same in us as is in birds. So the birds will sleep in the nighttime and if they get activated in us. I mean, I was so amazed that that we are so petty. We are so petty all the time. My mind is always telling us me, mine, my problem, this and that. And even here, perfect oneness. That's so true. You know, even we just remember that the plan is so perfect. It's so, you know, well laid out. It's perfectly everything is in one unity. And it gives so much happiness. So I really like that perfect word and it kind of resonated with me. Yeah. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. Many times Alok takes up these words and he says that each word, can be kind of become a topic of meditation. So just like you shared, one is feeling not that good and maybe suffocated, narrow again in one's own limited consciousness, and suddenly one just remembers this word that resonated with you, and one begins to meditate upon that. So it actually, what you were sharing, it does the work of expanding oneself from one's limitation. Yes, yeah. And many a times, when we are missing people, I think I have tried this, when we are missing people, and we miss people because we associate too much with our bodily limits, that I am here and the other person is somewhere there. But then when we contemplate on this interconnectedness, this vast oneness and interconnectedness, that we are always interconnected and we can never be separate, then again it relaxes the heart, and one feels one with the person one is missing. So yes. Yeah, anything else anyone wants to add on? Okay, so thinking no reflection at this moment, so taking it further, may this instrument serve thee, conscious of being an instrument. Now, I think this again, one needs to pause here, because all of us are nothing but instruments of divine. Who are we? Nothing but the instruments of divine. But the thing is that we are not conscious that we are. And it makes a lot of difference when we are conscious and when we are not conscious. So becoming conscious that this is granted, this body, one little locha happens in the brain or anywhere, and the body is gone. It's shattered to becoming dysfunctional, and we have no control over it mostly. So knowing that only grace is running the body, divine grace, divine force, divine Shakti, Mars force is running this body. We are nothing but for, if for nothing for but for the grace. If grace is taken away from the body is shattered to pieces. So knowing that we are trustees of this body, and hence this instrument is nothing but to serve the divine. Just like in Ishavasya Upanishad, the first opening shloka is almost reflecting towards that, that the whole manifestation is nothing but to serve the divine for the inhabitation of the divine. But in our ignorance, what happens is that we begin to think that, oh, this is my limited life and I have to just live for this limited little self, which we think of as the ego self. My family, my little four, five fellows, and my needs must be met. Rest, everything can go to hell. So when we live that kind of narrowness and limitedness, it not only suffocates us, it's also a lot of torture on people around. So may this instrument serve thee, conscious of being an instrument. I think very, very important. And may all my consciousness merged in thine contemplate all things with thy divine vision. So most of the time when we are looking with our limited mind, the sense mind, which looks at the sensory input and then interprets, that's how we understand the universe. I have heard something, so it is coming through the senses. I have seen something, then the mind has a layer of interpretation. It adds on that interpretation, and that's how I try to make sense of whatever I have heard or seen. So that's a very, very limited vision of seeing, and that cannot go beyond a certain limit. It's limited. So if we want to have the divine vision, which is a larger vision and comprehensive one, we will have to not depend upon the sense perception. And that is why again and again, Mother in Sri Aurobindo, especially, we hear it again and again with Sri Aurobindo, that the mind is best an instrument when it is absolutely silent, so that the higher knowledge, higher vision can dawn, it can be received in the empty mind as a receptacle. But that can only happen if I now stop to trust my senses and interpretations. I become unsure of my opinions. I become unsure of what I am interpreting. Only then I can allow the mind to be silent and wait for the intuition or the something higher to dawn in, which automatically comes. It's like a process in itself. So may all my consciousness merged in thine contemplate all things with thy divine vision. Like मेरे साथ ऐसा क्यों हुआ? So when we look at that with a very limited window, we find only other people to blame, me, the poor victim, this is my little story. But when we try to at least aspire for the divine vision, which is a larger comprehensive vision and in which nothing is out of place, then मेरे साथ क्यों हुआ ऐसा? I would exactly have an idea that this happened for my growth. Whatever is happening happened for my growth. Not maybe dot to dot details may not be known, but we will be able to see that this is making us progress. This is allowing us to progress, whatever has happened with us. So we can move out of that victim zone, in which usually we are sunk. So I think this is again a beautiful thing to ask, now that we have to ask anyway things from the divine. Give me this, give me that, what to ask. So may all my consciousness merge in thine, contemplate all things with thy divine vision. Yeah, anything here? Okay, so just taking it forward. O Lord, Lord, grant that thy sovereign power may manifest. Grant that thy work may be accomplished and thy servitor be consecrated solely to thy service. Now, most of the time, as we discussed in the earlier bit, that we are not conscious that we are here to serve the divine and not our egos, because we live in a certain forgetfulness. And I think it's after kind of having going through certain experiences in life, slowly we begin to realize that, oh my God, I'm not here to serve my limited ego. I am actually here for something different. I'm not here to fulfill my own wishes, demands, little thirst, desires that keep on cropping up, because that's a path, although that's still a path, that will ultimately lead me to the divine only, because there's nothing, no other destination. But it's a big detour and a way where I keep on getting slaps from here and there and here and there. So once we have had enough experiences in life, I think one begins to slowly awaken that there is something higher which I have to hear, some inner call, deeper call that I have to allow it to manifest. So just acknowledging that fact and aspiring that now that I know that this is the purpose of human birth, may it be fulfilled. And we need constant reminders. So all these prayers come as a constant, because forgetfulness is too dark. Like again and again we sink in forgetfulness. One challenge comes up and again we are down in that forgetfulness. So good to remind that what is the purpose that we are here for. Yeah, anything? Anyone?
I just feel that it's not only psychological, but it's a really big challenge as well. Like, to really come from, like, to really step back from the ego consciousness. Because like, even with me, try to read, try to meditate, but even sometimes somebody very close to me, even if they say even one time no to me about certain thing, that no, I don't want to do that, and something I really want, it really hurts me. Even though at that time I keep reminding myself that, again, it's my wanting, it's my desire, it's my ego that is wanting, but it still hurts. It's so painful. So I mean, sometimes I feel that, my goodness, it is so painful. Like, it doesn't really go away. Even if I have to tell myself 100 times, even 101 time, it will still hurt me if somebody says no. So in that sense, I sometimes feel really lost what to do. Or maybe
Absolutely.
it's the practice as well, I feel. But like with other things, in practice you get better, but with this
Mm.
thing, maybe it's my trigger point, I don't understand. But that thing is, I've realized it, that it's painful as well, it hurts deep inside.
True, very true, very true. If it was so simple a process, not so many avatars would need to come again and again, not so many scriptures and masters would be there. So it is a time-taking process. In one moment, one may feel that, oh, burden is light and I'm very simple, easy. But then you never know in another moment what crops up and triggers you again and invokes that pain in us. So yeah, it's a long, arduous and long journey for each one of us. And the process is not simple. And in fact, mother's prayers, one of the prayers mother says that the true conversion has actually takes a long time. And mother says that the process is long and slow, even for the best. And striking conversions are never real. They don't stay. So if one day you feel, oh, now I have changed. So mother says that striking conversions don't stay, don't last long. And to have complete stability in the process, it actually one has to go through innumerable experiences and long and slow process. Sri Aurobindo says that as if like you conquered a few villages, and then you went ahead like an army, you went ahead, and then in the meantime those villages turned rebellious against you again, so you have to come back. So yeah, long process, and we can take it step by step. And but I think people have said, masters have said, that it's good to have good company, because since we keep on forgetting what am I aiming, that's the only thing that I want to have truth in my front. And even my desires, wants, little pains, they are at the side, they are not in the front. So it's good to have people who are walking on the path together, in the sense that they also have the same destination, truth. So that's why Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we take refuge in. Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha is community of like-minded. Like if you are feeling troubled and you don't know how to deal with this, we have people whom we can reflect and who would not misguide. They would lead us to truth as they are themselves on the path. So yeah, all of us need that. Nobody can do it alone. Yeah. Yeah. Anything here? Anyone wants to add on? So may the I disappear forevermore. May only the instrument remain. I mean, this line is, I'm sure all of us have heard it in several forms earlier also, and that's our journey. That may this I, which keeps on appearing again and again as the limited me, the me who is hurt, the me who is the doer, the me who is the instrument, the I-ness that we have, because that's an obstacle, And one of the songs, I think it's from Kabirji. Kabirji shares that it's in Hindi called Kaun Guman Bhari Re Muraliya. So gopis are having a discussion uh, amongst them, and they are talking about the bansuri, and they are saying that what arrogance does this bansuri have? Why is it on Krishna's lips all the time? Why are not with Krishna? So, and then in the song it unfolds that the bansuri is empty of itself. It has nothing of itself inside, and that is why the Krishna's breath can move through it and play it like an instrument. But gopis, no matter how lovable they are to Krishna, they still are full of this sense of self, that me, we are the lovers of Krishna, or some kind of sense of self. So that has to disappear. So all kind of meanness which we become conscious of from time to time, if we notice and just shrug it off our shoulders, not giving it any attention. So may the I disappear forevermore. May only the instrument remain. I think if we, it's a very beautiful sentence for reflection and contemplation, that then my little hurts and pains and bonds and thirst, they would not matter much. They would still be there, but now not that important how they are usually to me, because I have to disappear. So how long can I continue to give so much importance to this limited I, wants and fulfillments and wishes and desires and thirsts of all kinds, which are again endless. So one puts it aside, although one sees that they may be still hanging around, and one involves oneself in the right purposeful work, whatever one is doing, with an act of servitude. A long process again, and Sri Aurobindo talks about it, that ego takes a long time to dissolve. So we don't have to get frustrated that, oh, my ego is still there. No need of frustration. I think, as we were talking the other day, that we have to develop a healthy sense of self. Because if my hand is hurting, again and again, my attention is going on the hand. But if my hand is not hurting, then my attention doesn't go on my hand. So a healthy sense of self is that, because then I don't give again and again much importance to myself or want attention from others. If I'm seeking attention from others, approval from others, or if I'm getting hurt by every instant, then it means it's a damaged sense of self. But if it's a healthy sense of self, then I would not mind many things. I'll just shrug it off my shoulders and be my best friend, and not mind all the things that come on the way. Yeah? So in the meantime, while the ego takes its time to dissolve and disappear, we can just remain good friends to us, and develop a sense of self which is not wounded but healthy. Yeah. So yeah, we can take last reflections on this prayer. Anyone? Okay, so I'm assuming nothing. We can then move on to this one, May 4th, 1914. Okay, so yeah, anyone who want to read it out aloud?
Should I read, Monica, if nobody else?
Yeah, why not? Please go
Yeah.
ahead.
May 4th, 1914. To be merged both in thee and in thy work, to be no longer a limited individuality, to become the infinitude of thy forces manifesting through one point, to be freed from all shackles and all limitations, to rise above all restrictive thoughts, to act while remaining outside the action, to act with and for individuals while seeing only oneness, the oneness of thy love, thy knowledge, thy being. O my divine master, eternal teacher, sole reality, dispel all darkness in this aggregate thou hast formed for thy service, thy manifestation in the world. Realize in it that supreme consciousness which will awaken the same consciousness everywhere. Oh, no longer to see appearances which incessantly change, always to contemplate in everything and everywhere only thy immutable oneness. O Lord, all my being cries to thee in an irresistible call. Wilt thou not grant that I may become thyself in my integral consciousness, since in truth I am thou and thou art I.
Thank you. So, many a times we are reading these prayers, and at times it may appear that this is too far-fetched. Maybe not for us mortal beings. But I think we don't have to really go there, and any little bit that resonates with us is enough. Just like, when we were reflecting upon the 37 verses of the practice of Bodhisattva, they say that even half a word, if you practice in one lifetime, that is enough. We don't have to touch upon all the 37 verses. So any little thing, and to each his own. So each of us may resonate with different aspects of what we touch upon. So that is enough. We don't have to bother with too much at one moment, because otherwise whatever little we can do, that also is gone. So to be merged both in thee and in thy work. Now this is a challenge, because most of the times what happens that when we are in meditative contemplation, we maybe having good experiences, maybe good realizations, and wanting to be there and not wanting to again come back to the world and engage. At times it happens. So, and in other prayers also, one of the prayers, Mother shares this, that this is our challenge, that to be in union with the divine consciousness and yet be engaged in action. Because most of the times we hear that at times, the sadhus or masters, although, when we reach at the level of yogis, it is said that even in their contemplation or meditations, they're actually having an exertic effect on the whole world. but we are not there. And we know that at times it happens that when I am meditating, then it feels really nice and I want to be there, but then I don't want to interact and merge back in the world, in the interaction. So this is our challenge. This because this is the yoga of integral consciousness. This is integral yoga. We need that same consciousness in our actions, in our words, in our thoughts, in our feelings, and not just when we are meditating. That's not the purpose here. So to be merged both in thee and in thy work, not to shy away from action at all, not to become passive now, because we have, now embarked upon the spiritual path. So to be merged both in thee and in thy work, to be no longer a limited individuality. So why would the mother saying this in the next one? Because when I'm engaged in work, this most of us can resonate with, when I am actively engaged in the world, wantingly or not wantingly, I become a limited individual. I operate from a separative consciousness. Oh, look what that person said to me. So again, I'm acting out of that separate self. That, oh, she's not working fine. I'm not working fine. So we again act out of separation. So this is our challenge, that to be in that communion and yet in action, not acting through that limited individuality. Very challenging. So to be no longer a limited individuality, to become the infinitude of thy forces, manifesting through one point, to be freed from all shackles and all limitations. Again, each point, I think I should not maybe take it too fast. Infinitude of thy forces manifesting through one point. Now, when I am acting through ego consciousness, when I'm unconscious that I'm instrument of the divine, I'm not simple-hearted, I'm full of my own opinions, dogmas, and also believing strongly in them. Then what happens, as if I create a wall, and that wall acts as a blockage for the infinitude of forces to work. I'm not allowing the divine to work through me. Just the ego has taken the front position. So how to become empty, like we were talking of the bansuri, how to become empty? If I would see the garbage, only then I can empty. If I value the garbage, I cannot be empty. If for me, the garbage is not yet garbage. If I think that, no, my opinions, my dogmas, they're not dogmas, they are the truth. You must do what I say onto you. So as long as I'm too sure of my ideas and thoughts and feelings and perceptions, I cannot empty myself of the so-called garbage. It doesn't appear garbage to me. So like, we can use the example in our house. We do time to time this cleaning. Those things which we think we are still using, can we throw them away? We don't throw them away. We only throw things away which we have not touched for a long time. And we think that, oh, I used to use that, but now I will not be using. I know. So I'm certain that for me, now this thing has become garbage. So as long as the stuff that is filled in me doesn't appear like garbage to me, I can't be empty. I will stay like a wall to the forces, the divine forces that want to act through the instrument. So again, as Mother says, that the first step is becoming conscious. Be conscious of what goes in you. Be conscious of your thoughts. Be conscious of why you are thinking the way you are thinking. Be conscious of your feelings, ideas, judgments. So everything that takes place in this being that I call me, I have to become conscious of. So that I can see what is to be kept and what is to be thrown. Very, very important. We usually are very particular, most of us, about our houses, what is to be kept and what is to be thrown. And yet, many a times, all of us can resonate that many a times we keep those things in the house which we have not touched for 10 years. We know we will not be touching for coming years, but still it is kept out of a emotional attachment or something. So these our ideas and judgments are like that. We don't easily become convinced that they are now of no use. We think that no, see, what I thought was right. It was of use. So I think again through experiences we get convinced that it actually is a garbage, all that goes on in my head. So to become the infinitude, only then I can empty and become the infinitude of thy forces manifesting through one point. Anything here? Anyone? Yes, I'm moving further. To be freed from all shackles and all limitations. Nothing much needs to be said here. I mean, all of us from time to time do feel shackled and limited in our own self-built cage, which we think is not self-built. But once we realize our power of letting those shackles go, then we see that no, it was self-built. So anything that is limiting me, may I be free from that. Anything, no matter how cherished that thing has been for me so long, but now it has become a limitation. It is not allowing me to expand. It is disempowering me. I must let it go. Nothing must come in the front of expansion, and not even, the best of. I mean, at times we become very emotional and senti about our relationships and uh, even places that we live in. But I think that nothing is a heavy bargain. Everything is a cheap bargain when it comes to our expansion. So we have to, if anything at all is becoming too suffocating, mostly our own judgments, our own hallucinations. And if not that, even the outer things. I mean, we should not take a moment, usually, if truth is our destination, we must let it go. We must let it go. And we see that in our ordinary life, many times, those relationships which are not serving anything, which has just become a wall in our life and abusive and not even abusive, like suffocating, stagnating in the name of those roles of brother, daughter, sister, wife, whatever. We keep sticking to those relationships and we really, really torture ourselves and others in that process. So all shackles and limitations, whether inner shackles or the outer shackles, we don't deserve those shackles. And we don't realize that when I'm allowing the shackle to be on me, I'm actually also shackling the other person. We think that I am actually being very kind. That see, I'm not saying anything. But when I'm allowing to myself to be shackled and to be in a zone which is stagnating, then I'm actually also torturing the other person who is involved. No one gains, no one has a win-win in this situation. So when I get freed from a certain situation, then it also helps the other person to move into a different open direction, which otherwise was not happening. So rocking the boat, in other words, is a good thing, I feel, when things are not really expanding and moving in an expansive direction. Not that easy, but yeah. Yeah, anything here? Anyone? So I think shamelessness would also come into picture here, because many a times we are so tied up by the outer roles and obligations that people will, we may get some insult or something, rejection thrown away at us, that how could you do that? Something like, right now I'm talking of outer limitation. Of course, this is in reference to inner shackles and limitations also. But I feel that at times the outer action is also required. So to be shameless in that regard, that in front of our expansion, nothing comes as an obligation. No role, no situation is that important as the expansion.
And how would you know that this is not actually leading to your expansion? Sometimes you, in the name of expansion, sometimes it is, I feel like sometimes it is you. It is, your ego that is telling you. And it's not really coming from that perspective of growth. And I remember I was listening to a video. Somebody asked Thich Nhat Hanh about the behavior of a very maniac husband who was not good to the woman, and woman asked that what is it that I should be doing, and he actually asked her that that sometimes we do not know how to water the good seeds of happiness and compassion in ourselves, and because we are not able to do it in ourselves, we are not able to do it in the other person too. And that is why, so I mean, there is always the scope of compassion and expansion. If you grow, it will have an effect. But sometimes, because we are not able to do it ourselves, we just say, let it go, but in the name of expansion as well. I mean, just to understand that how do we recognize that decision is coming from the space of expansion and not rescue?
I mean, we would know, first of all, we would know, only we would know. I think there can't be any other diagnosis. Nobody else can tell me, because the honesty that I have for myself, nobody can see through. And secondly, I feel that, of course, so two things can happen, that I am in a very, very challenging relationship or situation, and irrespective of however the people are around me, challenging, not challenging, or maybe I am the one who is challenging, I am taking the opportunity as a growth in my consciousness, as an opportunity for progress. Then, of course, intuitively I can see when, how long I can stay, how, maybe I have done my best and now it's time to move on, right? We would know. But in other cases, when I am in a challenging situation and yet I'm not able to make it a path through my progress, it's stumbling me. It's like I'm in misery every waking moment of my day and night. I don't know how to progress through this situation. Yeah, people may tell me that, oh, this has come to you for growth and progress, but I can't see. I'm just suffocated. I can't see any growth. So many a times that also happens. So we go through all kind of attitudes in life. So at times I may be able to take it as a growth opportunity for growth, good for me, good for the other person. The other times the situation is so challenging that it's just out of my bounds, that remaining in the situation I cannot find peace. Happens. I have a friend who's again a friend with a family, has a daughter, has a husband, and the husband was going through a mental illness, and the illness, she was trying her best, I can say, in her consciousness, she was trying her best to offer support, offer guidance, and because the child is also impacted, so she also has to see that too much impact should not be on the child, that the child becomes too scared, or being with the person who is mentally challenged at house, at their own home. So the at one point she has to say that he had to say actually that please, please leave. And I think that was also kind. That was also kind to her and to the husband, because she just, it was out of her capacity, that, and now I see her around and I see that she's much relaxed. Now, again, this is a very tricky thing. When to say how much is enough? And growth will happen through all the phases in our life. It's not that my growth will only happen in that situation, and when I go out of that relationship, growth will stop. No, not possible. The journey is of growth of consciousness. So then I think it's totally up to us individually how much we can take as a raw material for progress, and then how much we can say, no, this is too much. So now I need to move on. A different call is calling me. This is not my cup of tea. So again, context to context, it would depend. Yeah. And even if I say, if I escape, for example, if I say that, okay, I am getting out of this relationship or the situation because it is, I can't take it. It may be because of my ego. It may be that I want to escape the opportunity for growth that wants to come. But then when I enter something else, I will enter somewhere. I will be in some other situation. Growth will happen there. There I will meet people. There I will enter into situations that will compel me to grow. So we can be certain that it's like a infinite safety net in which we are carried. That no matter which direction we go, growth is going to be there. We can't escape growth, no matter which gully we go. Yeah. Yeah. Any additions, any reflections are welcome. Okay, and so I'm moving forward in absence of anything else. I think this also, again, as we were sharing that, how Alugda shares that even each of this sentence, each phrase can become a meditation in itself. And that's why, prayers and meditation, these are contemplative, full of consciousness words and lines. So when I am in a situation that something has been bothering me and that bother is on my head, and it is limiting me, it is burdening me. And immediately I recollect this line to what is my aspiration? To be freed from all shackles and all limitations. And if I become conscious of a thought or some judgment in my head that I've been holding on to, it's making me too tight and limited and giving me pressure in the head. I can just let it go in that moment. It can happen, just shrugging that off. Because what is my aspiration? My aspiration is to be free from all the shackles and limitations. Right now, this thought has become a limitation. Can I just let it go? Can I just have so much of kindness and love towards myself that I don't let it come in between that expansion and ease that I feel. Yeah. And again, I think this is also in conjunction because to be freed from all shackles and all limitations, to rise above restrictive thought. So all thought that is narrow, all thought that constricts me, that makes me narrower, limited in my frame, to rise above that. And for that, I will have to be conscious of my thoughts and ask myself, oh, how is it? Expansive, empowering, disempowering. How long do I want to hold on to it? So every moment I can kind of, make a choice. And this is what Mother shares in the power of thought and imagination, that since we think all the time, since we are thinking beings, we can't help. So why not, whenever a negative pattern we see that, oh, this thought is too narrow, dark, and limiting and negative, why not transform it into something beautiful and expansive? That, oh, I know that the mother is taking care of me and everyone else, and I will be guided. So again, just an example, transmuting every limiting thought into something expansive. To act while remaining outside the action. Again, I mean, nishkam karm, something that we all, detached action, we all want to do but fail at times. And I think the word that goes along with this is disinterested action. An action in which I know that it's not going to add on to me anything. If not done, it would not subtract anything from me. So that kind of solidity when I have, then I can remain in action and yet out of action. So there is no personal interest, no sense of self, no self-aggrandization that this is the approval I will get from people if I engage in action, and people will give me respect, fame, name, or people will dishonor me if I don't do, So that totally rid of all personal motives. Whether I do it, not do it, no sense of self is added, subtracted. Then only the action can be detached. That I have no personal hidden agenda from this action. Very, very difficult. Because most of the times, not even wantingly, we have in the background some hidden agenda, which only we get to know later when we face some disappointment in that action. That, oh, why is the disappointment there if the interest was not there? Because disappointment can only come if a personal interest is hidden somewhere. If a personal interest is not there, then we will be free of disappointment also. So very challenging, and yet I think very inviting also to take it up, to act while remaining outside the action. Yeah, anything anyone wants to add on? Okay. So to act with and for individuals while seeing only oneness, the oneness of thy love, thy knowledge, thy being. I think again, easier said than done. To act with and for individuals while seeing only oneness. One thing which comes to me here is that how Mother shares that others are only a mirror, and whatever we see in the other is present, we can be sure in us. I think that really helps because that also creates a oneness. That, oh, this arrogance or this, the way of working I see in the others, I exactly notice this in me. So how am I different from the other person that I'm noticing? So I think that really brings us back on the ground, and we don't have to keep fighting with each other. And many clashes can be avoided since we will be in interaction with individuals, no matter how hard we may try not to. So to act with and for individuals while seeing only oneness, the oneness of thy love, thy knowledge, and thy being, to know that we are part of this humongous divine being. And each and every person, each and every aspect of creation is just like, one speck of cell, one atom of that humongous divine being. And we are always a part of that divine beingness. Each one of us, every aspect of creation. Then we will not be able to hurt the way we consciously try to, how wars happen. That I am separate and you are separate and I want your territory, so I'll bomb you or claim the land. We can't do that. We can't do that if we contemplate on this one beingness that we live in. Yeah, okay, sure. And then thank you. So to act with and for individuals while seeing only oneness, the oneness of thy love, knowing that it is the divine which is manifesting through the other person. I think we have to remind ourselves again and again because we forget. Rather than the divine in front, we have the particular role in front and we forget totally the divine again and again. So, Sumiran, I think, is very, very important to remind ourselves that it is the mother manifesting through each and every person, being that I meet and see. O my divine master, eternal teacher, soul reality, dispel all darkness in this aggregate. You know how beautiful this word aggregate, like as if a collected, mass and then a little boundary of something. Dispel all darkness in this aggregate thou hast formed for thy service. Beautiful. That this being that we call ourselves is an aggregate formed of all the elements and the aspects of consciousness and formed solely for the divine service. Thy manifestation in the world. Realize in it, realize in the instrument, realize in it that supreme consciousness which will awaken the same consciousness everywhere. So I think we keep talking on of doubts and uh, this disease and that disease is now an epidemic. Be careful, be careful. I mean, if that uh, can be our contagion, as Alubda many times shares, contagion of faith, that wherever we go, we just spill out more and more faith. Like wherever a person with some disease may go, he may spill out and sneeze out those particles, from his being. So wherever we go, we be just a walking kind of mobile faith, Wherever we go, we carry faith, we spill out faith, we sneeze faith, we cough out faith. That would be very nice. We breathe faith, we breathe out faith. So realize in it, may this instrument that you have formed for your service, aspiring that you may realize in this instrument that supreme consciousness, and which will not only awaken this instrument, but also awaken the same consciousness everywhere. How beautiful, that contagion of supreme consciousness. Just like ego is also contagious, uh, you know, at times we invoke the other person's ego when we are acting from our own. So may I not be that, may I be the supreme consciousness in alignment with the divine and awaken the divine consciousness everywhere. Oh, no longer to see appearances which incessantly change, always to contemplate in everything and everywhere only thy immutable oneness. That no matter in whatever situation I am, it is certain that I will grow. It is certain that I will progress if the right attitude is there. So, not to take appearances just on the face value, no longer to see appearances, going beyond the good and bad situations, going beyond good and bad people, going beyond friends and enemies, no longer to see, even going beyond disease and health. We at times run away from disease and want to be just healthy all the time. But we know that as a matter of fact, diseases may happen. So not even wanting to push away anything. We can work on it, everything, but not to push away, because everything is a manifestation of divine. So no longer to see appearances which incessantly keep on changing. always to contemplate in everything and everywhere only thy immutable oneness. So through good situation or a bad situation, who is manifesting? The divine. Then I can't be in fear. Then I can't be in fear. O Lord, all my being cries to thee in an irresistible call. Will thou not grant that I may become thyself in my integral consciousness, since in truth I am thou and thou art I. So I don't know when our aspiration will become so strong that this is what that we only want from our lives. Because I don't know whether it is right now there or not. That all our being, right now my being cries for what shall I cook, or not cook. So all, oh Lord, or maybe who is the person I want to be next to or not next to. So right now my being may cry for that, but when will my being cry to the divine for an irresistible call? Will thou not grant that I may become thyself? That to unite with the divine is my only preoccupation. There is nothing else that preoccupies me, no matter wherever I am engaged. So that would be very interesting to see, that happening in our own life. Yeah. So anything anyone wants to add? Yeah. So shall we end? Shall I take this as an indicator that we can end here? You know? Okay. So just taking the last moment of silence to our own self and sharing all the expansion, all the reflection, the wisdom, sharing it, sharing all the merits with the sentient beings, all the sentient beings, and may everyone have peace in our hearts, simplicity in our minds, and lots of joy and progress in life.